I finally cut the light off. And I guess I left the television on for a little while, and then I cut it off. And I just flipped over, and when I did, I just went on to sleep. And then all of a sudden, somebody wakes me up and said, "Miss Bullock, I came to visit with you." Next thing I knew, he had me up, he'd ripped my underwear off, and he was trying to sexually assault me. And I started kind of pushing and, fighting, trying to get away.
What did you think about this case when you first read it?
The thing that stuck out to me was that somebody would break into an elderly woman's home and brutally attack her in her own bed.
The Young County Sheriff's Office.
I've just been raped.
My face is swollen, my eyes were red.
She's just such a sweet woman and such a shock that something like this could happen to somebody like that. It's everybody's worst nightmare.
And we're thinking he probably came in through a back window. That definitely piqued my interest. Local law enforcement swabbed the entry point. DNA is a very important part of a sexual assault investigation. Unfortunately, many agencies around the country don't have the resources they need to test the DNA that they gather. They also lack the manpower to reinvestigate their cold cases. This is where our team comes in, and this is why I'm so hopeful that we'll get some positive DNA results in this case. Miss Bobby was a teacher for many, many years, so most everybody in the entire community knows her.
I know she's really involved in her church. I know she's really well loved. I've represented victims from all walks of life, and it's very difficult to watch the emotional toll these types of attacks take on them. But it's amazing how they really become survivors.
And when you talk about somebody who's a rapist, this is not somebody who's likely just gonna do this one time.
Once they get a taste of that, they go back for it. And that's what's so scary, and that's what I'm so excited about, that if you and I can do anything to stop one more reoffense, then we've certainly done something good here.
Every single rape kit represents a person waiting for answers.
The biggest reason we're doing this is to bring these survivors some justice.
Hey, how are y'all?
Good, good. How are you?
Victor Smith.
Nice to meet you, Victor.
Hi, Alicia O'Neill.
Alicia, good to meet you. Kevin Ellis.
Thanks for having us here. We're really excited to work this case with you guys. I'm sure you guys want to put this to rest for Miss Bobby.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Anytime you have a victim that doesn't have closure, has those unanswered questions, it's horrible, and you live it with them. I work sexual assault cases because I think it is one of the most horrible things you can do to somebody. Sex shouldn't be used to damage somebody.
How you doing?
How are you?
Good, good, good.
Jesse Alvarado is a seasoned sex crimes detective from the Los Angeles Police Department.
Victor, it's a pleasure.
Pleasure to meet you, Jesse.
He has interviewed defendants. He has gotten statements, confessions from defendants. So he's just a remarkable resource to have here in Leon County.
Hopefully we can get a good resolution to this whole thing, huh?
Homicide cases and sexual assault cases are very similar.
Good. Appreciate you, and I'll be checking in with y'all this week.
The main difference is that in a homicide, the family is trying to deal with the grief. And in a sexual assault case, it's the victim that has to deal with what has happened to her for the rest of her life.
From our work as prosecutors, Alicia and I know how important it is to build a rapport and a relationship with victims so that they do feel comfortable talking about these most intimate details of what happened to them. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
All right.
So now we're talking to Miss Bobby to try to gather as many details as possible so that we can help find and apprehend her attacker.
We're both so impressed with how strong you've been through this and your ability to just keep going on. You're an amazing lady.
You were teaching music?
I was
at that
teaching
time?
music. That's all I taught at that particular time. I've done 38 years.
So pretty much you've taught everybody in this community and their mama.
Yes, yes. That's why they tell me everybody knows you.
I know, Miss Bobby, you have a very strong faith, and that was something that got you through this.
I've tried and tried really hard not to let it get me down. And I still can't figure out why me.
Right.
My initial thought process was like, who could have done this to this sweet, sweet lady?
When a victim has to recount the events of the attack against them, it can really bring up a lot of painful and difficult emotions.
All right, love you.
This can be really difficult for family members to have to listen to.
Well, good morning, good morning.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Miss Bobby's being joined by Tanya, her advocate. Important to have that friendly face there all the way.
It is, it really is, and she's a good one.
Tanya reached out to Miss Bobby just moments after the 911 call was made.
And the next thing I knew, somebody was standing over me.
Sadly, there are a lot of rape victims out there that don't know that these types of resources are available to them.
I always get excited at Easter.
It was Good Friday, wasn't it?
It was. I was at the Methodist Church there on Highway 79 to practice.
So what time do you think you headed home?
I imagine around 5.
Okay.
Cloudy and
I did go to bed. There was something I watched on TV, and I cut my light off and went to sleep. I woke up and this person was calling my name and said, get up. I came by to visit with you. And he was saying, get up, and he hit me. I kept asking why you want to do this to me. He kept holding on to me and kept jabbing my face. And he pulled me up out of the bed. And I told him, I said, go on and leave me alone, get out of my house. And I asked him, please don't kill me. And he said, I will kill you. And he squeezed my neck. And about that time, he started undressing me. And he pushed me down, and his penis was wrapped in some kind of plastic or something. And he was trying to penetrate. I mean, I just kept talking to him, just nice and kind, and trying to push him off of me. But I couldn't, and every now and then, you know, he'd hit the same side. But he was so wrapped on those sock caps, like, pulled down over his face, and then had this hoodie on. I really didn't see too much. I just remember a body going through that front door. So I got up and I fell back, and finally I was able to get to my cell phone.
The Young County Sheriff's Office.
This is Bobby Bullock. I've just been beaten and raped.
Somebody beat you up and raped you?
I think it was my grandson.
You think it was your grandson?
On March 30th, 2013, Miss Bobby Bullock was attacked in her own home by a masked intruder. Something that surprised everyone was that Miss Bobby named her adopted grandson as a suspect in this case.
Somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew Gerard was really upset with me. And I thought maybe he had gotten so angry that he decided he wanted to be the big man of the house, you know.
Okay. There were a number of reasons why investigators were unsure whether Gerard was a likely suspect. Then rumors started circulating around town about another man who could have committed the crime. I'd like to talk a little bit about a guy named Troy Cheeves.
He was friends with Gerard. After this was over, and the Saturday evening we came from Madisonville, a young man drove up in front of the house and stopped. I think Jonathan went to the door. And this young man was telling them that it was Troy.
Who was this person?
This was Tina Emanuel.
I've spoken to Teeny.
You've spoken to Teeny?
I'd asked him directly, did he tell you that he did this? And he said, well, no, he acted like he did it.
Okay.
Now, we'll confront Teeny and say, you have told them once. Now, are you ready to tell us exactly what happened?
Right. No one has ever said that they knew for sure that Troy Cheeves committed this crime. If Teeny's a credible witness and he says what we think he's gonna say, this could make the case. Let me get her up here on the board. It's time for us to start looking at the suspects in the case. And we're gonna start with the first person she named in the 911 call. All right, so let's get Gerard Bullock up here. So he was about 23 years old, okay.
Miss Bullock did, in her initial statement, say that she thought that it was him.
I really thought it was Gerard because he was that built.
It must have been really awful for Miss Bobby to suspect her grandson of this type of crime, and I can't imagine the impact it had on their family. And there was some tension between them, is that right?
He may have associated with friends, some drug use by those friends, and there was some tension, them coming in and out of the house, and she didn't like that.
But you guys started doubting right away that it was Gerard, right?
Yes. He was called to the hospital, and she was very upset.
It was when Miss Bobby saw Gerard walk into the hospital room that she began to doubt that it was him.
I thought about it some more. I think Gerard was a little bit thicker. Okay.
I mean, within the 911 call itself, she goes from saying, I think it was my grandson, to I'm not sure.
Right.
Talking to her, she says the real individual was a little bit smaller than him.
And then moving on to the second suspect, Troy Cheeves.
Troy, burglar, convictions for burglary. The chief of police over in Oakwood had received information that he had arrived at a residence about that time frame, disheveled, out of sorts, like he'd been running, moving, sweating.
Despite rumors and some evidence, local investigators have not been able to nail down Troy Cheeves as the only suspect. And then who did you develop as the third suspect?
Also in her interview, she had mentioned a guy named Albert Jacobs.
It wasn't a heavy voice. That's why Albert Jacobs came to mind, because he sort of sound that way.
She said that she had taught him in school. I've worked cases on him. He's a burglar.
Tell me where you were at on this day when this happened.
Okay, I was out early that evening because I went to town. I panhandled a couple of birds. But I know I didn't leave out of my house, and I didn't burglarize that woman's house.
Something that belongs in Albert Jacobs and Troy Cheeves, which is the attacker called her by her name.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Somebody was standing over me, saying, wake up, Miss Bullock, wake up.
And that would tend against the stranger factor, and it goes towards these guys. Another interesting thing, towards the end of Ms. Bobby's interview, Detective Kraft says, well, did you notice anything? Like, did you smell anything?
There was a sweet smell, sweet, like an air freshener. Okay. Yeah.
So little details like how the attacker smells may seem like it's no big deal, but those details can be so important. They're the things you really want to pay attention to. Because when you go through and really look at each one of those little details, they can give you the break you need.
I know there's a lot of options for charging this type of case, the possibility of injury to the elderly. Another choice would be burglary with intent to commit sexual assault.
Well, in the state of Texas, both sexual assault and attempted sexual assault are both felonies, so you get there either way.
The perpetrator said, I'm just here to visit with you.
And said, get up. I came by to visit with you.
And I think it plays into this issue of the perpetrator's intent when he broke in. You know, if it was burglary with intent to commit theft, that's one thing. But if it's burglary with intent to commit sexual assault, that's a first-degree felony.
What kind of sentencing is he looking at?
A minimum of 5 years in prison, all the way up to 99 years or life. We want to provide the local prosecutor with everything they need to get the highest possible sentence so that we can keep the offender off the streets and from reoffending, and also to give the victim peace that the offender cannot hurt them again.
Every victim's important. You know, we all use the phrase every victim every time, but in her case, it's something that she's just a really special person. Just a really special person.
You said your head was hurting you?
He hit me a number of times in the face. That's it.
Did he leave? He's not there anymore?
He left.
Miss Bobby Bullock was attacked in her home in 2013.
And this is Miss Bobby's house.
We have 3 suspects in this case that we're really looking closely at. We're gonna visit the crime scene to see if it can point us towards one of the suspects or the other. I think I'd like to start by taking a look at the point of entry so we can see where the suspect came in.
Okay.
Investigators believe that Miss Bobby's attacker entered her home through a window after he pried off the screen.
That's the window that he went through.
So this screen was laying on the ground and the window was up.
Yes, ma'am.
Whoever it was seems to me was small enough that they were able to maneuver themselves over some of the items on the dryer because they didn't clear off the dryer.
No, there were
Right.
still
There
things
wasn't-
standing.
Let's take a look from the inside. And that would be just straight back?
Yes. This is where we believe the suspect crawled in.
Do you remember what was swabbed?
The windowsill and the dryer, all this was down.
The Leon County Sheriff's Office did a great job of collecting DNA evidence in this case. I would be looking more at the windowsill for DNA because
It's not an area that would be commonly touched. If somebody's DNA was there, you'd have some explaining to do.
Right.
our team happens to work with a lab that uses some of the latest DNA technology. So we're hopeful that by having Victor submit the evidence to that lab, that we'll get some of the answers we need.
And then the bread was
about where that stainless steel pot is.
And it was just
an
dumped
entire
out.
loaf of bread just dumped out.
We all believe that the attacker dumped out a loaf of Miss Bobby's bread and then used the bag from that bread as a makeshift condom.
His penis was wrapped in some kind of plastic or something.
And if the attacker was already looking for something to use as a condom as soon as he broke into Miss Bobby's house, that clearly indicates that he wasn't breaking in to steal anything.
We weren't able to locate the bread bag.
Maybe the suspect took that with him when he left.
Go down the hall here, and this is where she was assaulted. There was blood on the bed and bedding that we recovered as evidence.
Because Miss Bobby was bleeding so profusely at the scene, and because we have no reason to believe that the attacker was bleeding at all, the testing of the blood evidence in this case just wouldn't be very helpful to our investigation.
So point out, look at all the jewelry. Unknown, it could very well be costume jewelry, but there may be some gold items. Even though Miss Bobby had many valuables that could have been pawned for cash, nothing was taken during the assault.
Clearly the motive was the assault.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Since this attack, Miss Bobby has actually had to move out of the bedroom that she shared for 40 years with her late husband. She moved because the memory of this attack has just been too much for her.
Okay, and this is the bedroom that Miss Bullock stays in now?
Yes.
Okay.
And she now sleeps in a small bedroom nearby.
And I see now she has security video.
She sleeps watching that.
Yeah, that's hard.
Nobody should have to live that way.
No. When you kill someone, you take their life.
And when you sexually assault someone, you take away their soul.
And not your safest place. This is your home. You feel the safest here.
Yeah.
Every night she lays in bed and she watches the screen and she watches all the video cameras. And that just goes to show you that she doesn't feel safe anymore. And that's heartbreaking.
Well, hopefully we can help her by taking this guy off the streets.
Definitely. That's gonna be big wings.
This is 79. That's the highway we came in on. And
Hey, look who's here. Oh my gosh.
How are you?
Good to see you.
I had to come see y'all since I was so close.
Alicia and I worked with Kelly for many years at the Harris County District Attorney's Office, and she became a mentor to both of us.
hi, Victor Smith, Leon County.
Her work on cold justice inspired us to follow in her path, and we're so excited that she's dropping in to visit us on this case.
So as you guys know, because you've worked all kinds of cases, the harder challenge for y'all is you have a statute of limitations, which we haven't been dealing with lately on murder cases, and you have a real live victim that you have to listen to what happened to her. The clock is ticking on Casey and Alicia as they pursue these cases because many states have a statute of limitations on sexual assault cases. Some allowing as little as 3 to 5 years to find and prosecute the offender.
We listened to the 911 tape of Miss Bobby, which motivates you, but she does indicate that it could be her grandson.
It's got to clear him
And
out.
I
if you
want to
need
make sure the defense attorneys, you know, they're going to say, why isn't it this guy? Have you done everything with him?
Yes.
And we're really hoping to nail that down today.
I'm really proud of Casey and Alicia. All right, y'all have good luck.
Good to see you, Kelly. Take care.
They're going to work tirelessly and do all that they can to pursue justice on these cases.
So today we're going to try to track down Daniel Garay, since Daniel was actually working with Gerard that night.
We just want to confirm it. He didn't clock out for him, and Jerry wasn't around anywhere.
Detective Wayne Salee works with Victor at the Leon County Sheriff's Department, and he's going to help us on this case. Go get him, Tiger.
I'll try to get him out here.
Gerard says he was at work on the night of the attack, and his time cards reflect that.
I'm Investigator Salee, Leon County Sheriff's Office. You got a minute I can meet with you?
But to be 100% thorough and have his alibi nailed down, we need to make sure that there wasn't somebody there that could have clocked in or out for him. You clocked in at 4:06 p.m. on March 29th, and then he clocked in a couple hours later, and then it's showing him clocking out at 4:25 a.m.
Sounds about right.
Would you have ever made it up and said he was there when he wasn't?
If they weren't there, they wouldn't have been on clock.
Right.
They were really particular with that, and there were other people trying to do stuff like that, like give people extra hours and stuff.
And you would have never clocked in or out for anybody?
No, ma'am.
So you ran sort of a tight ship?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Thank you, Danny. Appreciate it.
With confirmation that Gerard was at work that night from an eyewitness, we feel totally confident ruling him out as a suspect and that this attack was not committed by a family member, which of course is huge. Puts that puppy to bed.
And I would be happy to put him on the stand.
Yeah. Now that we have confirmation from an eyewitness that Gerard was at work at the time of this assault, this removes any lingering doubt that he was responsible for this attack.
Hey, Gerard, how are you? Good, 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 good. Investigator Wayne Salee, Leon County Sheriff's Office. Come on, sit in the front seat up here.
I know this will be news that he's very glad to hear, as will the whole family.
First of all, I appreciate you coming out and taking time to meet with us.
Yes, sir.
You're real tight with your grandma, aren't you?
She's been with me like my whole life. Like she's been my mama. She's like ever since I was born. She's been there. I don't see how a person could just harm her like that. That's a sweet woman. I don't see.
Yeah. Just to kind of let you know, we talked to your manager at the time to verify that you were working. We know exactly where you were when this was all happening.
We pretty much have gone through the investigation. You've been eliminated from the deal.
Smell, y'all scared me though.
I hope you feel like it's good news that we've made some progress. So
we're gonna keep working real hard.
Yeah, we care a lot about your grandma. The aftermath from a sexual assault can just be horrific. Between wondering why me and then the constant living in fear, Miss Bobby's life has been forever changed by this.
I'm ready to get on to the bottom of this case.
I got angry a time or two, and then the Lord would say, no, don't give up yet. But I wanted to a time or two just say, no, I can't go on.
Although Miss Bobby originally said that she thought her grandson might have been involved, we've since been able to verify his alibi for the night of the attack. So now it's time for us to turn our attention to the two other suspects, Albert Jacobs and Troy Cheeves.
Hello. Mr. Churchman?
We'll start by trying to figure out exactly where Troy Cheeves was on the night of this attack.
We were together all day long, me and Troy Lee was. That night, went to my house, we were smoking K2.
K2 is a form of synthetic marijuana that used to be sold legally as potpourri.
When he left, there was a sweet smell.
I fell asleep that night.
When was the next time you saw him?
Probably 10, 11 o'clock the next morning.
Kyle Churchman's information about K2 might help us clear up one of the mysteries in this case, but he can only tell us part of the story about where Troy Cheeves was that night.
Where did you stay the rest of the night?
At Wayne's house.
You were at Big Wayne's house? Okay.
Big Wayne's house is a place where a lot of young people hang out in Oakwood. It's also a place where Troy had been seen early in the day. We need to go find out if what Troy told police originally is true.
Big Wayne? How are you? You mind hollering at me in here?
Oh, no, sir.
All right. Hey, we are going back into case. Was Troy at your house that day?
Yeah, he was there at my house that day.
Okay. How long did he stay there?
Right before I laid down, I looked out there and I seen him. Then I laid down for a while, you know what I mean? You know, it might be about 30 minutes. Then I popped back up there to see what's outside.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't nobody out there.
What time did you go to bed?
About 9:30, something like that, because I go to bed.
When you woke up the next morning, what time was it?
About 8.
About 8?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was anybody in your house at 8 o'clock in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
So if he said he spent the night there, would that be a lie?
Yeah, that sure is a lie. Yeah, I'm willing to tell you that's a lie. You don't stay on my house, no.
Big Wayne leaves us with a big question mark about Troy Cheeves' whereabouts at the time of Miss Bobby's attack.
We're at Albert. There's a vehicle, Charles Robert 6.
So now it's time to check up on our other suspect, Albert Jacobs, and his whereabouts that night.
You mind jumping in the car with us and talking to us? Okay.
Do you remember where you were that day?
Okay, I went to AA, but nobody showed up. So I came back home. I went home, watched TV for a couple hours, went to sleep. After I came in from AA, I didn't go back out.
Did you walk back?
I walked back.
Okay, were you drinking a little bit?
I was pretty drunk. I was drunk enough to pass out.
Okay.
10:30, 11 o'clock.
Okay.
This is messing me up. Y'all got me mixed up in it. Now, how I got mixed up in it?
Well, we can't talk about it all that.
Well,
All right, man.
That's all I can tell you.
Uh-huh.
All right, Albert.
What do you think now?
I don't think he's involved in it. I think he's way too big for that window. I mean, not that he couldn't go through the window, but he would have struggled and he would have knocked everything down.
That's what I think.
On that thing.
I just spoke with Cammie over at Sorensen.
The DNA results came in this morning, and this is when Alicia gets really excited. She loves to dig through those lab reports and really start to put the pieces of the puzzle together as far as forensics go.
I'm gonna start with the swab from the top of the dryer. They did YSTR testing on it. There was no male DNA present on that one. Knowing that Miss Bobby's attacker was a male, we chose to do a kind of DNA testing called YSTR. That kind of testing isolates and identifies only the male part of the DNA in a sample. On the fingernail swabs, the right one was inconclusive, and the left one was negative. This is where it gets a little bit more exciting for us. The swab from the windowsill, there's gonna be a mixture of 5 or more males. On this mixture of 5 or more males, Sorensen has to call it inconclusive. But it's still a really good result for us, and I wanna explain why. In order for Sorensen to be able to make any call on a mixture, there has to be one person who has way more DNA there than anyone else. On a windowsill, you wouldn't really necessarily expect that. No matter who touched it, you're gonna see a low level amount of DNA. Because there's no major contributor, they can't say for sure whether anyone's included in it. But what they can do is rule people out. And what they can't do for Troy Cheeves is rule him out. And not only is he not ruled out, his alleles are present at every single place that they got a profile. An allele is what we call a specific trait that's found within a strand of DNA. And according to the lab, enough of Troy Cheeves' alleles were found in this sample that he cannot be ruled out as the attacker. And even though the lab let us know that these results aren't conclusive enough to be presented in court, that doesn't mean that our investigators can't use these results when they're able to catch up with Troy and interview him.
I think it plays into when we interview him. You're definitely going to throw out the fact that he's been identified as being at the window.
You can show him the chart, you can use it as a demonstrative.
There would be absolutely no reason for Troy Cheeves' 17 alleles to be present on the windowsill. So we've established that Terod Bullock is no longer a suspect.
Most definitely. In fact, I'm really glad because it puts to rest for him and his family.
We've narrowed down our investigation to a single suspect, Troy Cheeves. However, our DNA results are not definitive enough to present to the DA. So we need to find some witness accounts to support our case against Troy before we can feel confident presenting it. One of the most important things we got from the interview with Miss Bobby was that someone told her that Troy Cheeves was her attacker. Who was this person?
This was Teeny Emanuel.
Officers have been trying to locate Teeny so that we can talk to him.
You seen Teeny Emanuel? What's up?
Meanwhile, we're starting to focus in on Troy Cheeves as our main suspect. If we develop probable cause that Troy committed this offense,
Let's see if he'll pull over.
we're gonna wanna get him off the streets as soon as possible. So we're gonna get back out there and talk to as many witnesses as we can to firm this up.
Look, I've been on Miss Bullet all my life. She used to be my teacher when I was going to school in Oakwood.
Okay.
You seen Troy that day?
No.
What happens when we come to a small town is we draw a lot of attention.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't intend to be nosy, but is it anything to worry about?
No, ma'am. We're just talking to people.
Okay.
I feel like if we don't develop evidence quickly against Troy, we could tip him off, and that would really hurt the case.
Did anybody talk about seeing Troy that night? Yeah, there's his vehicle right there.
Luckily, we just got word that the Leon County Sheriff's Department has found Teeny.
Say there, how are you? You remember me from a while back, a couple years ago?
We need to find out why he told Miss Bobby that he knows Troy Cheeves committed this crime.
The reason why I'm gonna help Miss Bullet because she been my music teacher.
Right.
Teacher, all of my whole family, Emmanuel family.
Right.
21 of us.
Right.
Wow. I mean, kids.
Okay. Do you remember when she was attacked?
I think the next morning, this dude, Troy, asked me to come to Palestine. So I told him, man, look, I'm going to Palestine. You ride with me.
All right.
I knew this son of a bitch did it.
Okay. Did he ever tell you he did it?
Yeah, he told me, say, yeah, I did it.
If we had to go to court today and you testify to that, would you be prepared to do that?
Yeah, I'm not lying.
Okay. Now you gotta be 100% with me.
100%.
100%, like hand on a stack of Bibles.
I asked him, Troy, did you really do this? He said, yeah, I done something bad, and I got to get the hell out of it.
Wow. Maybe that last paragraph should be, through his investigation, Chief Hummel developed information on the defendant, Troy Cheeves. Okay. We now have a witness who heard Troy Cheeves admit to committing this crime against Miss Bobby. Okay, I feel good about it too. I think we got everybody. We've written up a probable cause. That includes Teeny's account, the fact that the attacker called Miss Bullock by name, and the fact that Big Wayne denies that Troy spent the night.
If he said he spent the night there, would that be a lie?
Yeah, that sure is a lie.
This looks so good, so now go get the arrest warrant signed, and we'll have him arrested for injury to the elderly and burglary of a habitation with intent to commit sexual assault.
What's going on? I've been thinking about y'all all day.
Well, we've got some really good news. Victor pulled it off. We got everything really nailed down and pulled together.
Victor's happy?
He's got a big smile on his face under that hat.
Victor, you should be very, very proud of yourself, sir.
I got a probable cause statement I want you to take a look at and try to get a warrant issued.
With these charges, if Troy Cheeves is convicted, this could keep him off the streets for a very long time.
We have a last known address for Troy, but there is no guarantee he's going to be there.
Once you hit the one house, then
He'll know we're down here.
he's tied with the people we talked to already.
We'll check Mom's house down in Brazoria County.
If you're gonna hit it, it's gonna have to be the best house.
Yeah, we're gonna head up north.
Unfortunately, when there's multiple addresses, it can kind of be a bad thing because if you go to the wrong place the first time, you kind of starting to alert them that the police are looking for them.
After searching for Troy Cheeves, we found out that he'd been picked up by Houston Police Department on an unrelated warrant. The arresting officers purposefully did not tell Troy about the warrant for Miss Bobby's attack, so he has no idea that Victor's coming to talk to him.
Troy, you remember me?
to Wayne house.
Victor and Jesse are talking to our main suspect right now in the hopes of finding out what really happened that night.
Big Wayne is an interesting guy, but he don't remember you being at his house.
Man, let's...
Okay? And my question to you is this, okay? Let me ask you some questions, okay? If I had DNA at Miss Bullock's house, in other words, your DNA at the house, should there be DNA of yours there?
No.
At all, right? None at all. Okay, that's my whole thing. Troy knows his alibi is busted, so now it's time to present him with the DNA results, and I hope it's enough to get him to talk. Good. We found some DNA at Mrs. Bullock's house, and this is the profile of the individual of these two different samples. So you see all these little numbers right here, okay? And then these are profiles of people that we know, okay? So when you start looking at it, 17 is here, 13, 20 is here, 15, 10 is there. Okay, I have 7, 8, 9, 10, 17. What does that tell you? It tells you this profile is in this evidence. Whose DNA profile is that? Right there.
This is me.
Troy,
I don't even know how you got. What does I get that from?
That's from the evidence that we recovered from the crime scene, Troy.
I don't understand how they come out like that.
Troy, it's just like he says. The investigation clearly shows that you did it. Your DNA is there, right? That's not a lie. That's science. Just like the sun rises and the sun sets, it's science.
I'm just saying, like, I don't remember doing that. I don't remember doing that, man. I know I was fucked up, but I don't remember doing that. I don't even remember breaking in the house, man.
There's no reason for that DNA to be there, right? None.
I'm realizing that, but...
So how did it get there? Troy is right there. He wants to say it. He wants to give it up. This is your only opportunity right now to set things straight and to tell a nice lady what happened and why, and to show some remorse.
Look, man, I got a bad drug problem. It's real bad, man. I want a new computer, so I get some more crack.
So you're waiting to get a computer? The minute that Troy puts himself in that house, I know we got him. She woke up or what?
She got up, man, screaming and grabbed her. She just kept hitting me. She bit my finger. And she got tired to it. I thought I could get up, man. I hopped up and ran out the house, man. That's just, man. No, I don't even know why I'm saying this, man. I wish I could take it back, man. I'm sorry.
This confession from Troy is absolutely the best case scenario, and I hope that this will lead to a quicker resolution for Miss Bobby. Miss Bobby's son, Jonathan, and her daughter, Jennifer, are meeting up with us at Miss Bobby's church so that we can listen to her play some of her music before we tell her the good news. You know, it's one thing for someone to tell you what someone's like, but when you're actually there with them and in their presence, it really makes it real for you.
Thanks for having us here in your church and playing for us. It was beautiful.
You're quite welcome.
Victor has some news he wants to tell you.
As a result of our investigation, we were able to arrest a suspect.
Oh,
right
praise the
now.
Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
So I want you to know that everybody worked very, very hard on this, and I'm real proud of them, and I'm glad they came to help us.
Praise the Lord.
As you guys suspected, Troy Cheeves, that's who we have arrested, and now is in jail and going to be prosecuted for this violent crime. And there's no question that Gerard was not involved and that Albert Jacobs was not involved. And one thing I really want you to know is that every single person we talked to, every last one of them, Miss Bobby was my music teacher. Miss Bullock was my teacher. Miss Bullock, they love you. This community really rallied around you, and people got involved because their heart knew that they needed to close this case for you.
I mean, that's just a big word for me, is thank you, and God bless you. And I just hope the Lord will continue to bless Casey and Alicia to help somebody else, because the work that they're doing, they have to be blessed by God. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much.
You're the best. When investigating and prosecuting these types of cases, we refer to the victim as the victim because it's important for a jury to understand that they were victimized and terrorized as a result of the defendant's actions. But in the end, of course, they are survivors of a life-altering event. Miss Bobby is an incredible survivor.
Victor, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And by working with remarkable investigators like Victor Smith, we hope that we can take these offenders off the streets so that they can't hurt anyone else again and survivors can feel a little bit safer.